A very good afternoon, one and all present here. We're back again with another webinar of crafting transformative information on Planotech Media House. What is Planotech Media House? Planotech is an independent media house that offers a reliable source of news, information, and articles. Planotech Media House also offers genuine experience across an excellent portfolio of media, video, articles, interviews, events, and digital and social media platforms. We are back again with another edition of webinar such as role of NGOs during this pandemic. And we do have resourceable speaker who is Amit Amarnath sir and founder of Youth for Parivartan and also an practicing advocate in a high court. Over to you, sir.
Hi Dhanush, first of all, thanks to Planotech Media House for giving me this opportunity and for inviting me to this webinar. Extremely sorry, I had to visit a school today in Kanakpura, which we are adopting for this year. So therefore, I'm in this atmosphere, wherein I'm joining directly from this place to this webinar. Well, Youth for Parivartan is a non-governmental organization that started in the year 2014 with a simple motto, which is stop complaining, start acting. So the first thing which all of us have to realize is a non-governmental organization is something which supplements the work of the government. That is the reason why we are called as non-governmental organization. Basically, we do what the government is supposed to do, but we are not the government or we are not the authorities. We are responsible citizens of this country doing our bit for the society. So there has to be a synergy between the government and the public. If we have to establish a sustainable society model, then certainly there has to be a partnership or a synergy between the government and the public. And I think this synergy or this bridge is created by organizations like non-governmental organizations. Because a lot of people want to do a lot for the society, but they won't know how to do it and where to do it from. So non-governmental organizations give those kind of people the platform where they can volunteer and where they can join hands with the government in the governance. So to talk about Youth for Parivartan, we are a non-governmental organization, as I already told you. All of us in the organization are either students or working professionals. I am a lawyer by profession. I was a law student when I started this organization. So, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Okay, yeah. So in the year 2014, Bangalore was hitting global headlines as the garbage city of India. We were known as the garden city of India, but as a Bangalorean myself, as a Bengaluru boy, it was very difficult for me to see Bengaluru being termed as the garbage city of India. So that's when I and my friends, we took up this initiative of, basically I saw a lot of people complaining about what is not right, and none of them actually took any initiative to set it right. So, as I told you, a lot of people were just complaining, and people who wanted to take some initiative in setting it right were very few. And that is when me and my friends, we took up this initiative of joining hands with the government in cleaning up the city. And this was in the year 2014. We started on June 4th. So this is way before Swachh Bharat Abhiyan was launched. So initially we had to face a lot of criticism by the public because it was very difficult for us to make people understand as to what we were doing and why. But after the launch of Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, that was 3 months later, people started recognizing our work, and it was easier for us to tell people as to what we were doing and why. And our work, which we were doing anonymously till then, came to be termed as Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, and that gave us a better exposure or a better, the identification was much easier. So initially, yes, a lot of our friends and a lot of our relatives, most of them were criticizing us. Most of them were teasing us, saying that we go out on Sundays and clean streets and things like that. But we knew that what we were doing was the need of the hour, and we knew that what we were doing was right. Because a lot of people see, when you say youth, people, the first thing that comes to mind, the first thing that comes to the mind of the public is that youth is a force which is, careless and irresponsible. We had to set it right. So there are a lot of youngsters doing a lot of good things in the society, and when you term, when you consider the term youth, so due credits has to be given to all those people who are trying to do all good things in the society, and that was the main motto of our organization. ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳೋದಾಗಿದ್ರೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕೆಲಸ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, ನಾವು ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಕೂತು ನೋಡಿದ್ರು ನಡೆಯುತ್ತೆ. This is the basic mentality of the public, and the public as in the society. And somewhere we had to change this, and this is that is the main reason as to why we started this organization. And it's been 5 years so far. We started, four of us started this organization, and today we have more than 5,000 volunteers working with us on ground. And it's been quite a journey. We've been recognized by national institutions, and we were also covered by BBC. So all I have to say is, um, everybody wants to do something to the society, and they will be looking for some platform to make sure that they can reach their work to the public. And such a platform is created by non-governmental organizations. And as I already told you, non-governmental organizations are those organizations or institutions which create a bridge between the government and the society, which I think is most necessary to engage common public in public governance. So I think this is the major role of non-governmental organizations. I hope I have given you quite an introduction with respect to the topic.
That was really educative. As I don't know the terms of lawyer which you've been mentioned at the High Court, I think you have given a very good precision about that, and I liked about every sentence you spoke today. And you also mentioned about the garbage city of India, which was Garden City of India, turned out to garbage city. That is absolutely true. Where me being a Bangalorean, the particular situations were very bad during those days, and I really appreciate of your particular thought for the four friends. I appreciate them who started Youth for Parivartan. I've been following since many years of Youth for Parivartan. I'm glad to have a conversation first of all with you. And yes, when it comes to the topic of role of non-governmental organization, if in case you haven't started this Youth for Parivartan, I don't think the Bangalore would have been clean 50%, to be frank, because many youngsters have been more work. What would be the situation of Bangalore where we have got a name tag of garbage city? What would be the even more worse situations of Bangalore if not the cleanliness has been more precautionated for the public?
See, I'm not saying that Youth for Parivartan is the only reason why Swachh Bharat Abhiyan took some kind of acceleration in Bangalore. If we hadn't done it, somebody would have definitely done it. Because we have a lot of people who want to do something to the society, and I'm sure somebody would have done it. And today's youth, including me, my friends, everybody, all of us have this Kannadadalli adana tudita anತಾರೆ. We always want to do something for the society, and if you don't do it, somebody else will definitely do it. But I'm really happy that we started 3 months before Swachh Bharat Abhiyan started. And yeah, if not you, somebody else will definitely do it. But instead of waiting for an inspiration, it's always better to be the inspiration. So I mean, Youth for Parivartan has been in touch with a lot of organizations across India. Whatever work we are doing in Bangalore, we are in touch with a lot of other organizations in several cities, and we are guiding them as to how to replicate the same thing in their cities. So that way, I think since we started a little earlier than the initiative was, the nationwide revolution was launched, I think we got an opportunity to guide all those others who wanted to do this kind of work in their cities. So that way, I think yes.
That is really amazing to hear about it from your side. And you mentioned about you wanted to change the name tag of garbage city to get back the tag of Garden City of India.
Yes.
Where did you start first? Which was your first place to start this particular process of Youth for Parivartan? At the brown paints with the beautiful white written-ins and with the tribal marks that will really look amazing on the Bangalore streets. Where did you start first?
Yeah, there was a small children's play area very close to my house. The play area was in such a shape that kids, leave alone playing, kids couldn't even enter the park. It was in such a condition. And from the past 2-3 years, the residents, all they were doing was, they were just complaining about it, but none of them took any initiative to do something towards it. So even I tried my luck with BBMP, I tried my luck with all the local authorities, but when nothing worked out, that's when I got in touch with my friends. We came up with this idea of cleaning the park ourselves. and we painted it, installed benches, and did everything that we could do. And as I told you, Swachh Bharat Abhiyan was not launched then. So it was very difficult for us to convince the local residents as to what we were doing and why. Most of them had this question as to what we would gain out of it, first thing. And the second
Yes.
thing, a lot of people said that today you clean and go, who's going to maintain it? So the problem is with the mentality of people. So that's when we felt that, see, Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, more than cleaning your city or cleaning your neighborhood, it's about changing the mindset of the people. Only when you consider public places as your own. See, I'll give you a simple example. Uh, okay, my house. For example, I have a house. The four corners of my house is what constitutes my house. Exactly. I mean, as soon as I exit out of my house, or the footpath, maybe the road, it doesn't belong to me. It belongs to the government. This is what most people think. But who is the government? The government is nothing but people who are representing us. So
Yes.
ultimately, the footpath or the road belongs to us. As the same thing applies to the parks and other public places. So it definitely belongs to us. If we don't take care of it, we don't really have the moral right to blame the government or blame some other, uh, uh, some other municipal authority, saying that they are not doing the right thing. So only when we start thinking that public property is our property, public is nobody but us. Simple. We usually say, ಎಲ್ಲೋ ಒಂದ್ ಕಡೆ ಕಸ ಬೀಳ್ತಾರೆ, ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತಾಡ್ಬೋದಾ?
ಮಾತಾಡಬಹುದು.
ಓಕೆ, ಎಸ್. ಎಲ್ಲೋ ಒಂದ್ ಕಡೆ ಕಸ ಬೀಳ್ತಿದ್ರೆ, ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ಟಿ ಆಗಿದ್ರೆ, ವಿ ಸೇ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಡ್ಯೂಟಿ ಆಫ್ ದ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್. ಬಟ್ we first thing is that we say it is public property. Then we say it is the duty of the government. When the property is a public property, how does it become only the duty of the government to do it? When it is public property, the duty is also shared by the public.
Correct.
So only when we take the responsibility on our shoulders, we can bring in some sort of change in the society. And I think that is what triggered us in the year 2014 when we started this organization. As I told you, when we started, a lot of people criticized us. But we also received equal amount of appreciation from public, and we also received a lot of support from the public. And that's what made us take this initiative forward across Bangalore. And I think that's what we've been doing from the past 5 years. And we've been having a good time cleaning our city. And not just cleanup drives, we've been doing a lot of other things as well. We've been adopting government schools. So we are trying to expand. So cleanup drives
Yes.
is one major part of it, but we are trying to do other things as well. Because ultimately, this country belongs to us. And as the responsible citizens of this country, I think it is our duty to make sure that we take care of our public properties. And that is what we have been trying to do for the past 5 years.
That was really an amazing initiative where four funds now going for a party, getting to a corner site, getting the place cleaned, and that stands for the best, biggest tree, giving for the shelter of the whole Bangalore as a title back as a garden city of India. I really like that initiative. Where if not, I would have not seen those double roads or Kanakpura underways, or every corner of Bangalore would be filled with trash. Where you replace that with the brown paints and the new bench installations with youth for Parivan of a tribal marks. I really like this initiative. That was really an amazing initiative by your, and I really appreciate you for the once again for the best thing
Thank
out
you.
there. And
Thank you, sir.
coming back to the question once again, you also mentioned about just not about cleaning the city ton. You're also adapting the schools. And what not
Right.
more things, more stuff are you planning to do it? And how are you going to do the process down?
Okay. So apart from spot fixes, as I told you, we are into tree plantation drives. We are into a lot of other programs as well. Um, we've also done transformation of government schools. See, government schools are, I think we need to. There is a need to improve our government schools, because if you look at foreign countries, education and healthcare, they are given the utmost importance. But in our
Correct.
country, I don't know for what reasons, education and healthcare are two streams where the private sectors have been having a monopoly. And if
Correct.
we have to change this, I think it is very difficult. It is very much necessary for us to make sure that we improve our hospitals and government schools. So, um, so this is the reason why we have started adopting government schools. Today we just visited a school in Kanakpura. There is a village called as Arali Maradoddi. So this school, basically, we are working in So basically, we're working in collaboration with the panchayat, the local panchayat, and also the government of Karnataka, wherein we are jointly trying to develop the infrastructure of the school. We are trying to help them in all way possible, in all means possible. Yeah, first thing is that we need to appreciate the fact that we are all working professionals and students. So our means are very limited. But the very fact that all of us want to do something to make sure that we improve government schools. And I'm sure if we can make this as a model school, we want to represent this to the education minister of Karnataka government. And in this school, we are also planning to introduce things such as rainwater harvesting and things like that. So we want to introduce this model school to the education minister, wherein we want to see if the same model can be adopted in all the other government schools in Karnataka. So the idea of adoption of this school is to make this a model school, so that this can be replicated across Karnataka.
That was really an amazing initiative. That is the best initiative because, as mentioned today, the education when we compare to the education, online classes are done only for the private schools and government schools. There's nothing. There's no zero process has been going on. When we have a conversation with any of the educational ministers, I don't want to mention that because there's no spotlight on the particular government schools. Why is that happening? Education is meant for right to equality. Why isn't the equality been showing in all these purposes? That'll be a very huge topic if you go for the education field once again, because that's a very vast thing. So, and and also coming back to the session of NGOs,
Mhm.
when if not, you would have not started this. Like in the sense, where would you be standing today?
That's a very difficult question to answer. Uh, I'm sure I would have been a lawyer for sure, because I was a law student back then. But
Yes.
I'm sure that I wouldn't have the satisfaction of giving back to the society, because most of us ask as to what the society has done to us. But I think the major question is as to what we have done to the society. And when you ask this question to yourself, and when you have the satisfaction of saying that you have done something to the society, I think you cannot answer it with words. That is something which you cannot express. So I'm sure I would have been a citizen of this country, but I wouldn't have been a responsible citizen. A responsible citizen is one citizen who not only takes from the society, but who also gives back to the society. And
Correct.
I have the satisfaction that I mean, not just me, but my entire team. All of us have the satisfaction that we have definitely given back to the society to whatever best means we can. And yeah, this is what I think is the right answer to the question you asked.
For sure, for sure. You have given your best, and you're doing your best, and you will also give your best for the further whatever things you have
Hopefully.
been take up as the challenges and stuff. And last but not least, how would you address today's youth, representing the name of your organization's Youth for Parivartan? And you also explained why the name of Youth for Parivartan has been showed up, and a short note for every youth right today.
Yeah, so initially when we wanted to name our organization, we were in a fix. We didn't know what to name the organization. So we had rounds and rounds of discussion. And that's when we came up with this idea. We were a bunch of youth who wanted to do something to society. So that's where the term youth came up. And since we were trying to bring in some sort of change in the society, I mean, as Mahatma Gandhi said, um, be the change you wish to be. And
Yes,
yeah, so that is what we were trying to be. And that is where the word change was very much, I mean, we were very much inclined to the word change. But youth for change would have been very conventional. So we wanted a desi touch to it. So that's where the word Parivartan came in. So that's what we call ourselves, Youth for Parivartan. We are a bunch of youth who are trying to bring in some sort of positive change in the society. And yeah, sorry, can you please repeat your question?
no problem. The start note for every youth right
Okay.
today.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Sorry, extremely
As you
sorry.
mentioned before, you said that youth which have been into carelessness or any
Correct.
kind of disrupting skills which has been going on, because I also belong to the particular youth system right date. How would
Absolutely.
you address them, and what would you give a short note for every youth right today?
Yes. See, considering the current situation, the elder generation thinks youth are those people who are irresponsible, who are into partying, who are into drugs, who are into all negative things. But it is so. As I told you, when people call Bangalore as the garbage city of India, all of us Bangaloreans feel bad about it. The same thing applies to youth. when
Right.
people consider youth as that group of people who are into partying and who are into all sorts of negative things, I think it is upon us youth to make sure we change the definition of such words. I'm not saying that all youth are good, but there are certainly a lot of people who are trying to do a lot of positive things with for the society. And I think it is our responsibility as youth of this country to make sure that youth does not mean irresponsibility, but it also means responsibility. And it is always better to see how we can find the solution for the problems that we see around us. See, ultimately, youth is an immense power, and how we utilize this power is in our hands. So yeah, I would say that instead of waiting for an inspiration, if you want to do something, then just start doing it. Doesn't matter if you have supporters initially or not, but if you believe in what you're doing, if you think what you're doing is right, I'm sure a lot of people will support you and a lot of people will join your tribe. And certainly your idea, if it is noble enough, it will definitely find a lot of success. And certainly all of us youth should look towards things which will help us in nation building. That is our responsibility as the youth of this country. So yeah, this is my I think this is my message to the youth of this country, saying the simple thing being, don't wait for an inspiration, try to be the inspiration. If you have any innovative idea, try to implement it. Definitely it will be a success if you believe in it.
That was really amazing. A very good quote, inspiring all the attendees and all the people who are watching this live. That was amazing thing to hear about the youth, which have been into the negative side of the every perspective, individual things. But when it comes back to the youth innovative stuff, there are many other youths, as you mentioned, working for the country, and they will surely work to the country where for the people by the people, and I want that to be changed as for the youth by the youth. That will be an
Absolutely.
amazing thing to get that done from my youth, and I promise from myself to do that being done right from the day. That was really amazing, and thank you so much for being on Planetic
Thank you,
Media
Dhanush.
House. We're
I
really
once
glad to have a conversation with you.
I once again thank you so much for providing me with this platform. I really had a wonderful time in introspecting as to what I've done and what I have to do in the future. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much, sir. See you.
Thank you.
Well, now let's get back to the session of a webinar, Crafting Transformative Information. Our next speaker would be Nilay Jaswal, who is the director and first promoter of ZUB Foundation. Over to you.
Thank you, Dhanush, for the introduction. So before I will be giving a small introduction about me only, but before starting with that, I will just like to point out something on the Mr. Amit said. So the thing is, in our society, yeah, there's this mentality. If someone is working on as an NGO founder or something, no, either he doesn't care about his family, either that person doesn't want to earn anything, or either that person has given up on his life. Okay, so जो लाइफ में कुछ नहीं कर पाते वो एनजीओ खोल के बैठते हैं. So that's not I'm not generalizing to all of the people, but that's a very large part of the biased opinion that we have in the society. So and yeah, and congratulations to him for all the work, and very good afternoon to Rabia and Saraswati. So for all of you, so I will just start with my introduction. So yeah, I am the co-founder of Zoo Foundation, but Zoo Foundation started just 5 months back, as compared to you all people who have been doing this work for years. So that's nothing as compared to it's nothing as compared to that all, of course. But I would just like to give you a more brief introduction. So in 2016, I was an undergraduate student. Okay, so I was doing my fourth year of engineering, and I used to work with a immigration firm in USA. And as you know, that the immigration in the USA has always been a spotlight for everything, like all of the biases and tearing families apart and everything. So that was one of the point when I realized that okay, Shad, I should do something valuable and contributing to some of the some of the gray areas in my country and all. And after graduation, started with my social enterprise called Code Binary Initiatives. And not less than in 3 months, the Code Binary Initiatives was appointed for a technical conference at Hong Kong, which is one of the biggest conference ever. It's called Alpha Rise. And within 1 years of operation of Code Binary Initiative, we were able to help 15,000 families and all. But that company was an MSME, and I used to call it a social enterprise because we were not using any of the profits that were coming into the company and everything. in 2019, I landed up with a TEDx speech at Maitri College. It's one of the Delhi University colleges, where I addressed on the fact that why social entrepreneurship and this NGO is a approach and the need of humanity, right? Because the word humanity is itself banished. Because today we are in a generation of people who have broken hearts and broken families, most of us. Okay, there is one person in your life who has broken your heart and confidence to that extent that you have this thought ki, if people didn't do this for me, why would I do this for others? That's the major mentality in the society. And yeah, in 2000, in the late 2019, I started with Zoo Foundation. So I've just put up a very small presentation for all of you. So I hope you like it. Also, adding to the fact, I'm a student. I'm a 23-year-old student at IIM Kodikor, Indian Institute of Management Kodikor. So I'm in my second year doing my majors in marketing and strategy. So it's a very disputable thing. So when some of my friends know that I'm into NGO and also they were like, bro, you do not want to sit in placements or what? So I'm like, of course I want to do that. You can contribute to the society while doing a job or while having a family and everything, right? Because it's never too late and it's never like the correct time also. So yeah, I'll just share the PPT. Okay, Dhanush, I hope it's visible, right?
Yes, it is. You make it that. Yeah, that's fine now.
Yep, great. So let's start. So the name of the foundation is Zoo Foundation. Okay. So many of the people do also call me and say, sir, are you the founder of ZUV Foundation? So it's not ZUV, it's Zoo. So first of all, I would just like to tell you why this word Zoo and what does it mean and how does it originate basically. So Zoo is basically a word in Kashmiri. It originates from the Kashmir, which basically means life, and it's generally used in the phrase Zoo Vandun. Okay, and why Kashmir and why I chose this word? Because at some point of time, a very special person made me realize that if you think that you're going to end with a happy family, if you're going to think that you're end gonna be a lot of balances in your account, that's not a life that you want to, that's not a life at least I want to live in this world. I do not want to go into my deathbed and realize, okay, I did a great job, I just worked 24 hours in my cubicle, I had a house, I had a car, but I didn't even feed water or clothes or even one word of education to any third person which was not around my surroundings. So each and everyone today, like in their life, should have a purpose and a meaning. You should not have that regret. Your all the fingers were working, all of your hands were working, your limbs were working, your brain was working. You could see everything, but you didn't do anything for the people who are around you and suffering and all. The smallest act of generosity, if you see, a very few people do this. During summers, they will just put up water in a bowl and keep for the pigeons and all the birds. That's the smallest act of generosity, but not everyone do that, right? So I'm very helpful. I'm very thankful to this person to making me realize all of that, and we started Zoo Foundation. So let me tell you something about the Zoo Foundation scheme. Okay, so the Zoo Foundation was put together by a group of 15 people. So these 15 people are some of my batchmates from IIM Kozhikode itself. Some of are my colleagues and seniors from IIM Calcutta and Trichy. Some of are my interns who have worked with me in the previous organization and come from the also most elite schools. Some of them are industrial leaders also who have worked in this industry post graduation for 10 and 12 years. So you see, this group of 15 people has a lot of expertise and a lot of experience, has an exposure to the most diverse and the most unique things. And the first motive to start this Zoo Foundation, the first aim was to put together a platform, an online forum, okay, which will have two sides of the stakeholder. So one side of the stakeholder, we call it as heroes, and the second side of the stakeholder, we call it as survivors. So who are these heroes? So heroes are your just doctors, psychiatrists, psychologists, lawyers, social entrepreneurs, influencers, NGOs, education institutions, and everything. And who are the survivors? So the people who have survived through rape, sexual harassment, human trafficking, child labor, and some of the most heinous crimes, we call them as survivors. So our idea was to put forth a social forum where these survivors can connect to these heroes and get the appropriate guidance, get the appropriate mentorship, get the appropriate help to just live a life again. Because some of the people who go, like most of the people who go through these incidents do not live a normal life afterwards. It takes a lot of patience and a lot of acceptance and afterwards, and many people break, okay, because they do not get proper help from the society itself, not sometimes not from the family itself. So we wanted to put together a forum. Now, what was the basic challenge while we thought of doing this? So as you see, each and every initiative that we are doing is okay. So many times it happens that okay, we see a slum area nearby my house, and I see the children are not that much into studying and all. So I should go and distribute books. Okay, so these are the some of the basic small areas where people can directly go and work into it, right? But the thing is, we wanted to address some of the other gray areas which were not that much into spotlight and which were not that much into there was no primary research or the secondary research did on that areas. So when we put up the Zoo Foundation, we put up a very strong R&D team. So these R&D teams have the best of the market analysts, people who have done market analysis, people who have done their internships in analysis and market research. So the main aim of this team is to analyze all of the potential gray areas in the society, conduct a primary research, conduct a secondary research, put out with some recommendations and how we can play into. Of course, if the R&D team is going to work into 10 gray areas, the Zoo Foundation is not going to work on all the 10 gray areas. But we have created a knowledge base here. Foundation of all the research and the recommendations, which any third party or which any third NGO can use it for their own benefit and work in those areas. So some of the very potential research projects that we have been working in this foundation are your social impacts of consumption of alcohol and how does it affect your household and everything, how does it affect your mental state and everything. There have been research in the LGBTQ society, what were the potential problems that are not being highlighted. So not many of us know. So the thing is, if we talk about the problems about LGBTQ, most of the people will say they have a very hard time in dealing with, the society doesn't let them, strive to it. But you should also know that the LGBTQ people also face a housing problem. Okay, so we have collated some of the various diverse problems that these people face, and we are working on it. And then we also have research on the efficiency of women safety apps and everything. Now, let me tell you about the three main initiatives that we launched as a part of the research. The first was the wisdom classes. So my father is basically a teacher. Okay, so he used to teach in schools and like home tuition for past 26 plus years and all. And then he thought, okay, so since I am not from a financially stable or financially strong family or whatever, but my father thought that okay, so I should not put any roadblocks in his studies and everything. He did his best, and I would say he did his more than best. Today also, he's probably sitting in another room and he's listening to it, and obviously he's the first teacher of my life. And he started an initiative called Wisdom Classes, which was started in the slum areas of Shahadra and everything. So Zoo Foundation took the education centers, which were based in the slums of Shahadra areas, and we settled it into the park. We made a very good, hygienic and more with pakka buildings and everything. So we put up wisdom classes in December 2019 to the Palam area, and currently we support 108 children, which are from the nearby slum areas and everything, and we give them free education tutorials, we give them free stationery, we also pay fees for the uniforms and everything. So in past 8 to 9 months, which have also raised more than 50,000 rupees to support all of these. The second initiatives is the Zoo support projects. So as the previous speaker spoke about it, like many people want to do it, but many people do not have the resources for it. But we are lucky, as I know how to do it, or Miss Rabia knows how to do it, And we could literally share this information, and we can literally help those students who want to start a social enterprise, right? So Zoop Support Projects is sort of an incubation program, in which we select the most social oriented ideas which would have a great impact on everything, and we give them our workforce, we give them our resources and everything to develop it, we market it, and we support it. So it was launched in July 2020. So it's just like 2.5 months. And we already have 2 women-led social enterprises incubating under this. And these are also students from the LSR Delhi University. And the third is Kahani. So in the previous slides, when I spoke about the forum, which will have 2 stakeholders, I was talking about our initiative Kahani. So it nearly took 6 months to develop that forum, to do a proper pilot test, to do a proper research, to search out all the potential stakeholders, the level of stakeholders, and we did a really depth analysis, everything. And this forum will be launching in September itself, from September 7 to 11. And our main focus would be to first tackle out the people who need mental health and everything. So we have started onboarding counselors and people for this. Now let's address the elephant in the room. Okay, so we are in a pandemic situation, and now we need to see what the NGOs have done in this pandemic. So I will tell you what Zoo Foundation has done in this pandemic. So I know all of you people have been reading newspapers, articles, in shorts, Instagram, social media. You are aware that there is not one problem. Like the COVID-19 started a multi-dimensional problem. Your education is blocked, your jobs are blocked, migration, the labor migration, there is no job for these laborers, for the EWS categorized people. The health sector is also blocked, and there are multiple problems. There are also the shortage of internet, there's shortage of electricity, there is no GST paybacks and everything. Even the government has some of its branches that are currently not working. The economy is itself down, right? So what I believe is there are multiple fields to play on in these times of COVID, right? And where did Zoo Foundation do? So since Zoo Foundation started this wisdom classes from December 2019, so we immediately saw a pattern. So when the lockdown incurred, all of the students were not coming to our education centers, right? Because obviously we cannot operate an education center and call all of them. Now, from March 16 to its September 5th, in India, approximately 320 million students have been affected by this closure. Okay, and the government immediately told us, okay, this is the new generation of doing online education. But tell me, do all of these students have the resources and everything for online education? Or have you ever witnessed a campaign from the government or for distributing any digital devices or anything to help these students? It might be there, but personally, I haven't seen so far. And not even these poor children. So there was this survey did by IIT Kanpur, and I am itself in a IIM, Indian Institute of Management. Okay, even my batchmates are not able to access the Zoom classes and all of the academic resources. So if we are not able to do it, who are able to live in this concrete buildings, how will those students do who are living in slums and going to government schools? Now, this is the time to question. We started with this digital India. So is digital India really meant for digital education? And now what we did it. So we are currently running this initiative, this crowdfunding for wisdom classes. So in the month of July itself, we had a group of interns who collated around about 27,000 crowdfunding. And with this money, we gave students their books and stationery. And then obviously there was still a gap because many of the students were able to get the resources by WhatsApp and everything, but many of them do not have it. So we have a second round of crowdfunding going on as we speak in this webinar. And we have a goal of 1 lakh rupees to collect. And for now, we have just reached around about 16%. It's like 16,000 everything in past 7 or 8 days. And what we are going to do with this is we are planning to buy very like cheap tablets and e-readers, books and notebooks which can be given to these children and they can really access their education. We are also going to help them with setting up a digital connection and everything. So that's the case. I will just take 10 seconds. I will just pause on this slide. So if anyone who is seeing this and really wants to help us in this, so you can see the QR code, you can obviously scan it. You have your UPI ID in this presentation. You can write it down, you can contribute, and do not forget to reach out to us on our WhatsApp handle and everything to get your acknowledgement certificate. Because these children really need it. I am sufficient enough. I'm sufficient enough to get my classes on LinkedIn, on Zoom and everything, but not these children. Moving on to the second initiative that we are working on, COVID-19. So currently, it's been a study that says 7.5% of the country is affected with this mental health. Personally, I will also admit to the fact that I have been seeing a counselor because somehow I feel that this burden and everything, this closure, this lockdown has affected me. I am seeing a counselor. And there are only 4,000 experts available. So if you just calculate, there would be approximately one counselor for 2,600 people. And this is a very, very dangerous situation. As the Economic Times suggested that the WHO said that around about 20% of the Indian population would be affected by mental health by 2020. So this 2,600 number will not just be 5,200, it will be more than 7,000 because 20%, because there are many people who are not coming up with it. So the reality, the grave reality is much more dangerous than this, right? Now, what we are doing it. So as I told about the initiative called Kahani, the Forum for Connecting People and Mental Health. So we are ready for it and we are launching it on September itself. And the main thing to realize is all of the psychiatrists, psychologists, the NGOs, the volunteers, even us, even our normal people, we should come together and speak to those people who really want this help. This is the one of the biggest thing that you want to, that anyone should do, right? So yeah, this is all about the challenges we have faced, the initiatives we are doing. It's a very short, and I have kept it very short presentation. At the end, I just want to speak a little bit on, so this webinar is on the role of NGOs. So of course, we have been doing our work and obviously we will speak here, but do not think all of the people who will be watching this today or will be watching this tomorrow, if you're watching any day, if this webinar is not done, do not think that the NGOs or the government are the only one, or the big corporates who are doing this CSR activities are the only one who are meant to help people. You should help yourselves. And let me give an example for it. So you might be very aware of the fact. So if you go out to buy vegetables or anything, you will see people who have either one mask like this or mask like this or anything. Very less percentage of people are really wearing masks in the proper way. So I happened to ask a few people, okay, sir and ma'am, why are you like wearing masks like this? Then they're like, see, I know that I will not get COVID-19, so I'm just like wearing it because I know I will not be suffering from it. But I asked them, like, do you know to how many people you can potentially transfer those viruses? You can be a potential transferring agent, right? So at least this is the last and this is the least bit and the last bit of help that you can do to others. Wear a mask and wear it properly. That's the first and the last thing someone will ask you to stop this, because there have been losses. There have been countless losses in this 4 and 5 months around the world, right? And a great man once said that God helps those who help themselves. So please help yourself so that it would not spread this disease to other people. And yep, so that you can have a great foundation. You can also keep yourself healthy and keep others also healthy. So with this, I would like to end it. And thank you, Dhanush, for this great opportunity to speak on it.
That was really a great initiative to start ZIV Foundation. That was an outstanding term where we students, the person who's talking right to you is also a student of engineering, as we discussed before. We students are showing up with this many things where we're getting up into the growth of our Indian, as mentioned by the previous speaker, Amit Amarnath sir, about the youth. And yes, you're on the right track of a particular where you're trying to develop your own organizations. And I also liked about this wisdom classes, which was supported by your fathers too, and as also about digital India, and also about the kahani, the mental status, because that is a majorly been required. You have choose a right path where we are all been required during this pandemic, and you also made that we're all together and we have to help together. Rather than God, I would like to say that. The person who needs help can be helped by the other opposite person. He would really get that help as soon as possible. Yes, and that been heard by, because we can hear, we can sense, and we can also respond back as soon as been possible. I agree with your points too. I do have many questions been waiting for you
Sure,
regarding the
sure.
mental health. Regarding the mental health, how are you planning to implement this kahani, where you mentioned this will be launched by September 7th or 11th? How are you going to implement this in particular situations?
Yep. So how I'm going to implement it, it can be very like a risky question for me, you know. The business model can be replicated, but yeah, obviously I can just give you a simple idea. So we have
It's
put
not about
together,
replicating where
yeah,
your quality matters the last, you
yep.
quantity, because there are many people doing the same thing. The quantity and the quality plays a major role. Yeah, please explain.
So we have put together a forum made up of this open source coded and code and everything. So this forum it has basically chapters. Okay. So for example, Dhanush, you are a doctor, right?
Yes.
And you specialize in, for example, a gynecologist. Then there would be dedicated forum for you. Okay. And there will be dedicated person who will be helped by one of our managers. They will
Correct.
sign a proper non-disclosure agreement and everything, and the data privacy and everything. And they will
Amazing.
just post their stories to your forum privately, and you can just reply to it. Now there are two problems. Either the person is not able to interact with the digital forum, okay, and either like they are not in that condition to even interact with any, you know, like physical thing. So in that case, we will be providing them managers and volunteers who would be going out to them, who will be interviewing them, and who will be being the connecting point between the survivor and the heroes. So yeah.
That is really amazing. That was really an amazing, unique thought from your side. I appreciate that. And you also mentioned about the crowdfunding which you needed for the tablets and the other devices which is needed for the government sectors. And mentioning about the education system, I also had a talk about it before, saying that the government schools have been ignored. They're been to the lowest part where we're not even caring about what is happening next. So I wanted to explain about how are you going to make that digital India get into the blown up.
So yeah, how I'm going to do it is, first of all, we would be helping to all of those people who have come, who have came us to for their help, and to all of those 108 students. So I know the crowdfunding amount that we are seeking is not that much enough to just cater to a large crowd,
Correct. Correct.
right? So instead of also along with all the crowdfunding and all, we have also come up with a very like innovative idea that for a donation amount of for anyone, for example, Dhanush, you are donating amount of 1500 for the Zoo Foundation. A, a person, some unprivileged children at some area would get access to 100 hours of coaching, like the free of cost. Okay. And we will invest your money and people who have donated that money into reaching out to them and establishing that. So first we will be helping out to 108 children who are under us. And then we will be catering to that business model so that other people can help other children.
That is really amazing. That is really impressive from your side. And I also liked about the initiative of Wisdom Class. And I wish you very all the best, Nilay, to have a best and great outcomes of the successful, positive flying colors. I wish you very all the best for all these
Thank you.
initiatives that
Thank
have been
you.
started from your side. Thank you so much for being on our
Thank you.
platform of Planetech Media House. See you soon.
Okay. Best of luck. Bye.
Thank you. And now let's get back to the session of crafting transformative information. And our next resourceable speaker would be Saraswati Padmanabham, who is a founder of Diaghar. Over to you, ma'am.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Danush, and the team at Planotech, and wonderful to be a part of a group of people doing so many things in the community, right from Mr. Amit, who's doing different initiatives, to Mr. Nilay. I'm looking forward to hearing from Mr. Abai as well. Really nice to be a part of this conversation about what NGOs are doing and kind of the role that NGOs are playing. And as Nilay mentioned that, especially now the need is so huge all around us. And so, I'll take a few minutes to share about the Agar and the space that we are working in. I'll just share my screen. Danush confirmed that it's
Yes,
visible.
it's visible, ma'am. Can you make it the full screen? Yes,
okay.
absolutely.
Okay, so Diagar is an NGO for construction laborers' children. We work with the very young children, 2 to 6 year olds. In India, there are about 60 million construction workers. Most of them live in blue tent settlements. I'm sure all of you in different cities, I think a few of you are from Delhi, whichever city we are in India, we see these communities where they are, living in just tents, right? There is no running water, no electricity, no sanitation. The children who live in these communities face a lot of challenges. They do not have access to good nutritious food, and therefore they're malnourished, their developmental is delayed, they don't have a safe environment to be in. These children are therefore exposed to physical, emotional, and sexual abuse. The parents, what happens is they take their young children with them to construction sites. At least with the older children, some of them are able to go to the government school. If it is close enough, they can walk and go. But with the 2 to 6 year old children, the parents are not able to drop them in the Anganwadi. Like in Karnataka, it is the Anganwadi, that is a preschool run by the government. And so the children are taken to these dangerous construction sites. They're also otherwise left in the community itself, where an older sibling is taking care of them. Just in Bangalore, there are more than 400,000 children under the age of 6 with no access to a safe preschool. So we started Diagar for the children of these migrant laborers. So up until March, we were having preschool centers, and our focus was providing these children a safe space, providing nutritious meals. We used to give them breakfast, lunch, and evening snack. We used to teach them using the Montessori method. And we used to pick them up and drop them from their communities and give them a full day program so that they could be in a safe space and grow. We used to work extensively with the community, just helping them understand their children's needs, understanding the importance of education and motivating them to educate their children. We started in 2016, and it's wonderful to hear the journeys of the other people on this platform as well. So my background actually is in accounting, auditing, and finance. And so I worked as an accountant, worked as an auditor. And while we were working in the US, my husband and I, we just felt that God was calling us to come back to Bangalore to work with the underprivileged children. So we came to Bangalore. I studied counseling because I was saying, what skills can I take to the community? So I studied counseling, worked at an NGO for a brief period of time, then took a break when I had young children, and then started teaching counseling in a college. During that time, we used to see several children playing on construction sites close to where we used to live. So, since the time we had come to Bangalore, this is a community that really drew us. And we used to go over the weekends and engage with them and help the children in the small ways that we could. And then in 2016, we knew God was just asking us to step out in faith. In my mind, I was thinking that, once my children had started grade 1, that's when I will start the NGO. But at that point in 2016, my youngest was not even 3 years, but we knew God was asking us to step out in faith. And it's been a wonderful journey of 4 years. We started with 5 precious children. And over the last 4 years, we've been able to grow to 3 centers serving 135 children. Over the last 4 years, we served more than 450 children. 22 children graduated and enrolled in primary schools. And this is really, really interesting because we work with migrant communities. And these are communities which have come from different parts of the state, different parts of the country. And they come here thinking that, there's no way we can send our children to school. especially the ones that we're working with where they've come from Karnataka and Andhra, they say that no, we'll go back in a few months. But there are families who've been here for over 10 years. The other challenges with these communities is that they go back for harvest festivals. They go back for their festivals and seasons. And so, they say we can't send our children to school. There is no way we can send our children to school. So it was so nice that we were able to motivate these families to send their children to school. And not only did they come to preschool, but the children who completed and graduated enrolled in primary schools. Again, half of our children go back to the village. Sometimes they reappear after 6 months or a year. But the really encouraging part is however long they've been at Diagar, whether it's a few months or a year, we see that these families have started, just having that hope that they can put their children in school, that their children can have a different future. And so even when they go back to their village, they start sending their children to school. And that's that really gives us hope. And then COVID-19 happened. Right? End of March, we started distributing dry ration kits to our 200 children's families who were in Bangalore. And then by God's grace, we were able to come together with a group of volunteers, and we called ourselves COVID Relief Bangalore. There were alumni from XLRI. We then worked with the BGAES Association. We worked with Rotary, different chapters. And over a span of a little less than 2 months, we were able to distribute over 76,500 dry ration kits for the migrant laborers in Bangalore, thus impacting over 3 lakh people. This was a massive relief work, and just so encouraging to see the number of people who came forward. Earlier, I think Mr. Amit was talking about how we work alongside the government, and it was really a time when the need was so huge, and it was a wonderful opportunity for us to be in a place where we could connect with these communities. We could raise the resources, bring volunteers together, organization together. We worked with over 50 NGOs in Bangalore, reaching their beneficiaries. And so this was a huge relief work that Diagar was a part of in April and May. During May, we realized that, we don't know when preschool centers will be allowed to open. We work with very young children. So we said, how do we even think of doing social distancing and things? So we realized that we'd have to change our model. And then we developed a community-based model. Our current focus is a few things. One is the food security of the families. Like somebody else mentioned, these families are still struggling to get work. And we provide nutritional supplements for all the children. We're also working with the 2 to 6 year old children, providing early childhood education. We're working with the parents to help them become more equipped to teach their children. We're also partnering with other NGOs so we could help our communities get jobs, find livelihood projects, as well as for the education of the older children. We're also taking care of the healthcare needs that are rising in the community. So on a weekly basis, we distribute milk, eggs, and a high protein mix. And more than ever before, this has become so important for our families now because, they're just struggling to even get food on the table. And so children are these children are so vulnerable to malnourishment and, they're undernourished. And during this time, we're just so happy that we're able to provide this supplement so that, they can continue to stay healthy and their immunity could be good. So the early childhood education, how we're taking it to these communities. So teachers record these videos. In fact, today a group of teachers are at the school, even as we speak, recording these videos. We send them through WhatsApp. About 75% of our families have WhatsApp, and we work in communities. So even if a family doesn't have, then they're able to share with their neighbors. So we send the videos every day. We send a video to the child. We also go into the community and distribute learning kits. What we've also started doing is identifying community champions. So here you see a young lady called Nandini, who's a community champion in one of our communities. So she works with the children a couple of hours every day in small groups. So our teachers train the community champion. And so many times these children are not able to access even the videos that we send them because their parents are out looking for work or they've got a few hours work and they're out. And so the community champions are able to show them the videos, able to help them do these activities. And then our teachers call up and speak to these children. They also go and visit the communities. Something really new that we have started at the Agar is empowering the parents. So we used to have parent teachers meeting where we used to do different sessions for the parents, but now we realize that, just working with them has become so much more important. So two things that we're doing. One is strengthening just parenting skills, doing workshops on awareness of different things, health, hygiene, and things. The other is about activities that they can do with their children, and that's something completely new for migrant communities. And it's been challenging for the families that were already a part of the Agar. They took it very easily because they'd seen the kind of development their children went through while they were at school. But with our new communities, we're having to really motivate them to start doing these activities with their children. So it's so nice for us to see that even during this time when things are at a standstill, when there is so much, things are just so bad all around us, right? So nice to see our children continuing to grow. I hope you can hear this. And it's so nice to see that parents are becoming involved as well. So Srinivas had joined the Agar just in January. And, he used to have very stiff fingers. And that's something we've noticed many of our children, even though he was 4+, his fingers were very stiff. And so there are a lot of activities that we do in Montessori, helping them to just develop their fine motor skills. And so it's wonderful to see his mother, Usha, really understand that need and continue doing different activities with his children. Currently, we work with about 150 preschool children in Bangalore and 60 of our children who have moved back to the village. So we've been able to impact 225 families and about 350 children, which includes the siblings of our preschool children. Children are now in a very, very vulnerable state. I mean, it really breaks our heart when we go into the communities and see these children, because that was the reason that we started the Agar. We used to see these children playing, just left unattended and without a safe space. And it's really heartbreaking to see them in this place. And, our hands are tied. We can't bring them into our center, but we're doing the best that we can. And, giving them nutritional supplements, giving them these learning kits and keeping in touch with them, because we don't want families to kind of just lose hope in education, right? When schools open, we want them to send their children to school, not just the preschool, but even the older children. So a large part of what we're doing is just keeping in touch with the families and supporting them so that they continue realizing the importance of education. By December, we want to reach 250 children, at least in Bangalore, which means we'd be impacting over 300 families and 500 children. There are different ways that you can support. Like I said, I was, a working professional in the corporate setting before I started the Agar. When I was working in Mumbai, I used to volunteer with an NGO that worked with street children. When I was working in California as an auditor, I used to work with a group that was working with children of prisoners. So I always used to look for opportunities to just be with children, to teach children, to help children. And so there are different ways that you could, look at the need around and support. For example, just to help people understand the extent of the need of these communities, right? One thing that COVID has done it's kind of brought to light the different challenges that migrant communities face. And so to just help people understand and see what you can do. Like many people have shared in the past, I mean, one thing that's been amazing that is over the last 4 years, we've had more than 2,000 people supporting in different ways. And so you could create content for teaching, you could, help us with creating awareness, you can financially support the children. We also run fundraising campaigns online. For example, we're starting one in October. And so if you'd like to be a the Agar ambassador and raise funds for these migrant communities, for these precious children, then please reach out to us. Let us continue to care for our children and their families, especially during this pandemic. And I'd just like to wrap up with a short video that will tell you a little bit about the Agar.
That was really an amazing session from your side where you spoke about how the Aghar is been working down. And I also liked about your community-based model and your particular where 50 plus NGOs have come to one place to help everybody out there. That was really an amazing thing for all these purposes. I do have questions been waiting for you where education you work on the majorly education for all these state kids and kids who are working on the construction site, and during this pandemic, how are you maintaining the precautions for the every teacher who's going to have an educative session with a particular student out there? How are you maintaining that, and how are you making sure there is no the infected or someone who's going to go to that construction site, because they would be not having any kind of precautions test to be taken before them, and how do you react on this?
Okay, yes, Tanusha, that's a very valid question. It's been very challenging, and we've been, talking to doctors, talking to community health workers, trying to see how do we do it. We said, should we be wearing PPE suits when we go into these communities? So currently, our teachers wear a mask, wear face shield, wear use gloves, and maintain distance as much as possible when they go into the communities. Within the communities, there is no distancing, right? It's not like we can say stay at home, right? They live in a 6 by 6 or 8 by 8 feet hut, not even a hut, a tent. And so in the communities, they're all just with each other. And by God's grace, none of our communities have been affected so far. But we're really careful when we go in. So we go in with a thermometer scanner and, scan everybody who's coming in line for distribution. We haven't started taking classes in the community as well. We started for a while, and then the number of cases just increased so much that we put a pause on that. And so that's when we said, okay, let's work with community champions, because they're already in the community. We are not exposing them to any new risk. They're already with the community, with their people. And so we're training these champions, community champions. And so we see a huge benefit in that, right? It's not just for this season, but we can see with people just rising up within these communities, understanding the importance of education and taking ownership for improving the lives and improving the lives of their children within the communities.
That is really amazing thought about this maintaining precautions, because there is a major part where which has been happening during this pandemic, and if the teachers get infected, they would have any other source getting it tested or getting all those medicated kids from them. But when it is compared to the construction site kids, even the parents would not be more educative. And when it comes to the particular child's mother or father, the parenting education which you meant about it, how are you making them learn stuff, and what procedure are you using them, because it might be language differing, and they might be migrated from different state, few might be migrated from different region, where it might be from north or south, there'll be
Sure.
different people out there. How are you making this process done very easier so that they can teach it to their kid?
Okay, so one thing is that our staff also is very diverse. We have Kannadikas, we have Tamilians, we have Maharashtrians, we've had Assamese in the past. And so it's amazing how God brings people who speak multiple languages. And being in Bangalore, and I think Dhanush, you said you're from Bangalore, people tend to speak, learn different languages, right? So that's one thing in terms of the language. And also many of the communities where we go and where I said that, sometimes they've been here for 5, 10 years. So they have picked up a lot of the local language, especially the children very quickly pick up the language since they are playing with other children. So we do Kannada as well as whatever else their languages we're able to manage with that. The bigger challenge is motivating them to, teach their children and even help them. I mean, just helping them understand the need for education itself and putting that hope that, you can send your child to school, right? Because they're just given up. They said, no, we come for construction work. We might go somewhere else. We can't send our children to school, right? But seeing that change in them is what we really strive for.
That is really amazing. That is really amazing to have this the change in the particular parents, because you might not be available tomorrow. You might not be available after a month, because this pandemic situation can grow longer
Yes,
for in year. Who knows? Because we're all in an out of situation where we're all in together. So educating a parent is the major thing, the major drastic impact you have been done from your Diagar. I really appreciate your efforts doing that. And Diagar was working very fine before the pandemic. how was the break when the starting? Because we didn't know how every organization, every foundation, every company went blank. And how did you get back to the form of getting into this kind of initial thoughts?
So what happened? March 10th, preschools were asked to close, right? And then we said, okay, few weeks, so 1 month and things. And then by end of March, we got, completely immersed in the relief work. So through April and May, we were, just doing a massive amount of relief work. But one thing that the teachers had started, a few of the teachers had started in April itself was making short videos and sending to our children and sending them stories and sending them songs that we used to do just to keep in touch with them. Because these children were suddenly, when we used to call the parents, they'll be like, the children asking when will school reopen. So we kind of started it thinking like it's a stopgap arrangement. Let's just keep in touch with them, something for them to listen to, watch. And we started doing that in April. But by mid-May, Dhanush, we realized, we just sensed that this is going to be a long haul. And we actually, so we were running 3 centers. We closed 2 centers because these are all rented spaces. We gave up 2 centers. In May itself, we realized this is going to be a long, at least for a year, because our children are very young, right? I mean, what social distancing? How can you wear masks and sit in class for the whole day and things like that? Right. And so then May, we started working on the curriculum. And that's when we said the children are at home the whole time. How do we help them, really learn? And it's not just a question of getting them tablets, and which itself is a challenge, but these are very young children. These are only 3 to 6 year olds, right? You don't even want them in front of the screen so much. And so a huge focus for us is their social and emotional development at this time, more than just learning numbers and alphabets, right? It's there's just so much fear in the communities. They see their parents struggling, they don't have food to eat. So supplying nutrition for them and food for them has been a focus for us, and keeping in touch with these children and helping them continue to grow, because they're also in a sensitive age when they're growing. You can't just leave them. There you see developmental delays because of that, right? So by May, we started working on the curriculum, and then a lot of our families left Bangalore. So we were like, oh no, now we're working with new communities. So in fact, now there are only about 25 children out of the 135 who are in Bangalore. All the other 120 children are all new, families, and that's a huge challenge. Just going in there. Sometimes you go and there are, 50 families. The next week you go, there are 60 families. Then you go and there are 40 families. So a lot of families have been going back to the village. They've been coming, so much flux in the community itself. But I think we started it in May. I think your question was when did we start in May? And then I was just talking to my husband recently. I was saying, I think this whole year we'll only be kind of working out, the model and implementing it and adding to it and things like that. So a large part of this year is, about that. And for the Agar, I mean, this is the first time we're doing so much community work. And so we are really looking at it as an opportunity that we will continue. For example, we have started working with an NGO for the older children in our communities. We have started livelihood projects. And so it's wonderful to have an opportunity to, bring in more interventions for these communities. So we are looking at it that way as well, saying, okay, we're kind of going broader and bringing in, learning different things, collaborating with other NGOs for different needs that these communities have.
That is really amazing to hear about the particular model where you and your husband been working on. We don't know when would one particular initiative might show up. We don't know when would that actually show up, and you're actually working in a very good manner to get into this wonderful ideas of education every child out there, because we need that. We need NGOs like you to be on the particular platform, and I really appreciate, I really wish you a best of luck to get this in a successful manner and educate as many as people as you can. Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you so much for this platform. God bless you.
Now let's get back to the crafting transformative information. We do have our next speaker, who is Rabia Bhatia, Development Head for Tatiana Non-Governmental Organization. Over to you, ma'am.
Hi Dhanush, thank you so much for giving this platform again for me to talk about my NGO, Titliya. Titlia, we all understand by the name. Titlia is like butterflies, you know. And to be honest, the kids studying in our NGO is like butterflies only. They're such a sweetheart, basically. That whenever I go ahead to now these days because of COVID, the NGO is closed, physically closed. Still, you know, we are working with the kids so closely that we have video calls, we have all that kind of interviews doing. We are doing interviews for them, so we are still close to their heart. They are still close to our hearts, basically. So coming to the background, and first of all, let me just introduce myself. I think most of everybody knows about me that I am not only working towards the NGO. I'm working as a HR branding head for the schools, for the NGOs, for the public sector. I'm a mentor. I'm a motivator. I'm a speaker as well, and I am a curriculum creator as well. So NGO is a part where it's like I wanted to, as Amit also said, that everybody wants to do something for the society. So I am from the corporate background, basically. I joined the education sector just 6 years ago. Still, I was not that satisfied, and somewhere that happiness was lacking in me, that I'm not able to contribute to anything for the welfare of the society. So there I realized that my mission lies in helping those kids which are which who are lacking these kind of studies, a proper education system. So I wanted to join an NGO, and I've been associated with Titlia NGO for past 1 year. The background is like, Titlia, the founder of this NGO is Ms. Anita Gulani. She is a, wonderful person by heart. She and her husband are working this backside of the NGO. They never wanted to come in front, basically. So that's the reason I am, I'm a kind of, face of the organization, which I love to be, because I wanted to talk a lot about Titlia NGO. They are doing a wonderful thing, wonderful jobs towards the education of the underprivileged kids. They are helping the staff. They are helping their teachers to groom for the grooming part as well as they're doing a lot of things for those families from where these kids come. We are helping them with the nutritious food, with the healthy food. We are helping them with the daily care which is required during this pandemic. So background is like we started in the year 2013, almost 7 years ago, with almost 15 kids, basically. So we grew with the passage of time. Our students have been now taken admission in the DPS. Our students have been admitted in the DPS school also. We are working not only for the education sector, we are taking care of their extra classes. We work from 3 to 6, and the kind of structure we do not have a room based structure, a class based structure. We work in an open environment. We have a setup which is in like a normal garden. We have normal environment, a nature, so that the students can get to know about the nature as well, can get to know about the birds, can get to know about the trees, how these things are helpful for the daily life, for the health, as well as for the society. So I think many people have got associated as a volunteer with us, looking at the kind of setup we have. We are working towards the education of the girl's child as well. We have separate lab, we have a separate computer room, we have a storeroom, and we we are supporting the education system, where we are doing the supporting the school fees for the few girl students, their fees, their school fees, their transport fees. So starting from A to Z, whatever fee you talk about with respect to the schools, we are supporting the education of those children. Now coming to the success stories, or the mission of our NGO, basically. If I talked about the initiative, why the Titlia NGO was opened, it was opened with the initiative, with the mindset of non-formal education centers and remedial classes for those attending school, to track down, to motivate and equip dropouts to rejoin the mainstream and to meet grade level expectations, to initiate the primary education for children without access to it. And the last but not the least, to integrate children who are marginalized by poverty and lack of education into mainstream society. So We are in Noida, basically Delhi NCR. We are in the garden. Our setup is in the, as I said, we open. We work in the environment, the open environment, and the thought of working in such an environment was, to understand the challenges that could be faced, we try out different methodologies before replicating the model at other locations. We wanted to try this setup so that if we want to grow, we wanted to understand how this setup works for it. And to be honest, it is working excellently for all of us, be it teachers, be it volunteers, be it the donators whosoever coming and donating anything to us. They are very really happy with the understanding of nature in the children. Basically, to be honest, the children are more happy than us, even sitting in the garden and studying and looking at the kind of, looking at the dog, looking at the cat, looking at the birds, the chirping of the birds. They make, they are so they become more cheerful. Actually, there is no sadness in the closed classroom. It is open. If you're For example, a child is not devoting his time into the studies, he or she is looking here and there, but still she is learning, she is grasping something, looking at the kind of nature, looking at the nature, looking at the, the people. There is there is an open gym in that ground, basically. So what we do is we give some time to the outsiders to have a look at NGO, to come and speak to our kids, which is actually a great exposure to our kids as well. So this was the major reason why we wanted to have an open setup and open environment about our classroom structure. The highlights of our intervention is, the highlights of our NGO basically is like we help them with the extra study material to develop better understanding of any subject, and the primary focus is basically the languages, English and Hindi, exposing children to computers and developing their natural inquisitiveness by making them asking questions instead of rote learning. We do not believe in rote learning, so they ask open-ended questions, basically, and we do ask the open-ended questions so that, their understanding, their learning should not be close to one answer, but it should have a wider answers, basically. So that is how we operate, basically. The programs we have designed is to create an interest and eagerness in making learning fun activities, making them interactive and happy also. The happiness is the primary objective of our NGO. Computers are being developed, and the focus is basically the interpersonal skills as well. So now we have 180 children, and we have 10 volunteers and 10 teachers. Who all are working with us. We are working from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. when the pandemic was not there. Now the pandemic is there. So to be honest, these slum areas, the kids from the underprivileged background, you know, as Amit also said, as Saraswati also said, and Nilay also said, the India was not ready for this kind of pandemic, for a digital education platform. So somewhere, more than schools, the private schools or the government schools, more than these schools, these slum areas have been affected. The education at these slum areas and for these underprivileged kids has been affected much more in a worse way, rather than talking about the government schools or the private schools as well. Because still, everybody of us know that the private schools are doing the online learnings, activities, online classes. Even for that matter, government schools have also been running the online classes. It is only the students who are from these background or the village areas. They are not equipped with those digitally equipped, wherein they can do the daily online activities and online learning as well. They do not have a process, they do not have those kind of equipment or the tools to go ahead and do the virtual learning. So having said that, what we did during this COVID, we started talking to our teachers to plan out something so that they should not be stressed out, and even for that matter the students should not be stressed out. So what we developed, as Saraswati ma'am said, that they developed Zoom classes. So what they started doing, we started engaging our students into Zoom activities basically, or WhatsApp activities for that matter. In fact, we started more towards the WhatsApp activities. We started sending them the all pre-recorded videos. Also, we started designing our own activities-based curriculum, because I am, as I said, I am a curriculum creator. So somewhere I also help. Somewhere there are teachers who are helping, who have been helping the students with the those kind of fun learning activities, which can be shared on the WhatsApp itself. The students read those activities. If they do not understand, then they make a Zoom call or a WhatsApp call to their teachers as a video call. They understand those questions if they are not able to understand on their own, and then the teachers help them. We help them to do those activities, and once the call is done, they do their activities and share those written activities and written material with their teachers the next day. So this is how we made sure that the learning should not stop, because of this fact that they do not have a proper mechanism, or they do not have the proper tools to go ahead with their daily learning. So that is where our teachers were quite equipped with these things, with the WhatsApp call, with the Zoom call, and we made plan. Also, at the same point of time, we made sure that our teachers should also be groomed. So what we started doing the teachers trainings on we lot of people are doing teachers training. They are doing free face teachers training through Facebook, through WhatsApp call, through Zoom calls. And to be honest, we have done almost 2 to 3 teachers training already, and they are now really equipped in how to take these online classes more fun based and more learning based, as well as at the same point of time, students should be more interested and they should not feel bored or stressed out with these online things, online activities. Coming to the fact that as the pandemic is already going on, what we did, we as a somewhere we were wanted to do something for the society, not only for the students who are already coming towards us, but for those who are actually facing a lot of problems because of this COVID-19. So we distributed our own brand masks to the community, to these communities. We started distributing a ration. We started distributing stationery to these families. We also started distributing the hand sanitizers and soaps branded with our name, so that at least these communities, these people will remember that yes, we have helped them in a difficult situation. You know, brand, giving them our brand, giving them the mask our brand name, or this hand sanitizers our name. It's nothing that we wanted to be in a limelight, but it's always it just to make them recognize us, that yes, whenever they are in a difficult situation, they should recognize that we are there for them to help. So that is where we started doing the branding mask and branding sanitizers, branding soaps actually. Also, we have distributed almost basic groceries, basic stationery, and to be honest, we have a few volunteers who are taking proper precautions when they go to these communities to distribute the stuff. So they are taking proper precautions. They are using the sanitizing. They are using the sanitized thermometers. They are using those masks also, and the soaps also, and those uniforms also, wherein they should not be affected. And at the same point of time, the infection should not travel amongst the other community members also. So we are thinking about all these things. We are taking proper precautions and proper safety measures as well. However, coming to the fact, when we started doing this funding, and we helped the society, the families of our kids with some amount of money also, because at that point of time the people lost the jobs. These families did not have anything to eat. The government did not start at that point. In the initial days, the government did not start those ration distribution or anything. So what we did a drive or fundraising campaign for 3 to 4 months, wherein we collected a lump sum amount of money, and though that money actually got transferred to these parents who lost their jobs during this pandemic, so that they can at least cope up with their daily needs and daily necessities of life. So this is all what we did as a NGO about Titliya. We are doing really great job, and all thanks to Miss Anita Gunani, who has been a master and founder for this Titliya. She's a person with great heart, to be honest. she always keeps in mind to help others, whether be it the staff, be it their teachers, be it the community members, be it their kids. She is the whole and solely responsible person. Why what we are doing, we are able to do that much for the community. So believe me, for that matter, I think as Amit also said and Nilay also said, if you have the will, you know, there is something called will and determination. We should not wait for the other person to start or to take the initiative. Somebody has to take the initiative. So why not us? Why not we start it? Why not we take the initiative instead of waiting? As Amit also said, that it's a public place. So why should we wait for the government, or why should we blame the government that it is not a clean area? It's our duty, it's our responsibility to take care of all these things. So at the same point of time, I think this COVID-19 has made us understood that we all are same somewhere. We cannot grow unless and until we are together. The unity is strength, as everybody says. We are listening to this phrase since beginning, since our childhood, that unity is strength. And I believe for sure during this pandemic, this lockdown has given us a proper understanding and a learning. And it's a great learning for all of us, that if we really want to do something for the society, start taking the initiative. And this is the right time. Don't wait for the next time. There is no future, there is no past. Whatever is there, it is the present. Live in the present, take the initiative, work towards the welfare of the society, till until and until you don't work for yourself. Because the first, what I believe, Dhanush, the moment you will start realizing that the other person is just like you cannot work for the other person, you cannot help the other person. The moment you realize that you and the other person is somewhere same, you are the creation of same God, then only you will realize, you will get this realization that yes, you are here for some mission, and that mission lies in the welfare of the society. Because with society only you will grow, you can't grow in isolation. So none of us can grow up individually, we all have to grow together. So that is all I have to say about today's, the role of importance of NGO. Importance of NGO, the non-government associations, these non-government non-profit organizations are there to help these underprivileged and slum areas children, where the profitable organizations are not able to do much for these kids actually. So that is the reason I am really fortunate enough to get associated with Titliya. And Titliya is like my family only. They are very close to my heart. Be it teachers, be it Miss Anita Gunani, or be it kids. They are all very close to my heart. And I really want to thank Miss Anita Gunani for getting me associated with Titliya, and for giving me this kind of opportunity to work on Titliya's behalf, to work, to talk here on Titliya's behalf. Believe me, for that matter, I have the deepest gratitude for Miss Anita Gulnani.
That
Thank
is
you,
really
Dhanush.
amazing to hear about the particular TTR's NGOs, that your team is really working hard to have great outstanding outcomes of every situation which has been happening, right? Date and when compared to pandemic, it's before pandemic, it's pre-pandemic. I guess you guys will be succeeding with the flying cars for sure. And I do have only one question for you. As the topic of today's role of NGO, I want you to give a one short note for all the youngsters who's there during this pandemic,
Okay,
for
so,
all the NGOs, and to
okay,
mention about it, to all the NGOs too. A
right.
one short note to work hard and let's all work together. I want you to do.
Abs- yes, absolutely. As Dhanush, you already said, to work hard and to work together. I think, as Amit also doing the great job at it, in fact, it's a great inspirational model. And Miss Saraswati is also doing the wonderful job for these kids. Nile is also doing the superb job. So when we unite, why can't we unite together and work together with for this community and make it a larger, make it a kind of, society wherein people should be blessed and people should be happily associated with us, and we can nurture all of them together, so that they can have a very bright future they can have a bright career in the future basically. And I think when we unite together, we'll be able to help more people, we'll be able to help more communities, and that's how those people will grow. And for sure, our India would not be only developing country, it would be one day our developed country like America, for sure.
That is really amazing. That is really impressive thought from your side. In a short note, thank you so much for being on Planetic Media House. We're glad to have you here.
Thank you, Dhanush. Thank you so much once again. And it was really wonderful to hearing all the panelist speakers today.
And I hereby conclude the session of role of webinars, where I thank all the reliable speakers and reputed founders of different NGOs for spending their splendid and wonderful time with Planetech Media House. We're really glad to have a conversation with every individual. Thank you so much.